Hey, what's happening, guys? I got something pretty cool here I want to show you, but first I want to say whoever sent me this from the Amazon wish list, the silicone controlled rectifier, thank you very much. It didn't tell me who it's from, so I must thank you anonymously. So, Mr. Anonymous, thank you very much. You guys will be seeing this in an upcoming video. Now, on to today's video, and that is what's in this box, which is the most complete starter kit, Uno R3. But before we get into this box, and this was very kindly provided by Elegoo, so thank you very much, Elegoo, for sending this out to us. What is Arduino? I mean, if you follow my channel for a long time, you know what it is. It's a microcontroller. But what does it do? What does it allow you to do? Why would you be interested in it? You know, 100 different things. So let's cover that real quick for the folks who are unfamiliar with Arduino but might be interested in it. Open up the starter kit here, and there's a ton of stuff in here, and don't worry, we're going to get to it. But first, I just want to get out the Uno R3 so that we can talk about it. There are at least 20 different Arduino models on the market. The R3 is probably the most common, the most popular, whatever you want to say about it. So here's going to be a quick recap. If you guys aren't interested in watching the recap because you're familiar with Arduino, go ahead and skip ahead. For those of you who aren't, let's talk about it real quick. Right here is the microcontroller, this IC, and this is the Atmel. I'm probably going to get this wrong. AT328P, I believe. And this simply takes the place of what are called discrete electronics, transistors, resistors. Whatever you can do with them, generally you can do with this. So this is the heart of it. Everything else on this board simply supports this chip. For instance, this is your USB input. Well, there's your USB controller. This is some power supply stuff over here. And that's it. Everything else just supports this chip. So you can actually program this chip, take it off the board, and use it somewhere else. No problem. There's a couple of LEDs for status. This is a different type of programmer here. But it all boils down to what we call these pins here. GPIO, general purpose input-output pins. And we take a look here. These are some special purpose ones. We have reset, 3.3 volts, 5 volts, couple grounds, and a voltage in. And then we have some analog pins here. But over here on this side is where we have the digital pins. And this is what you're going to be using most of the time. So to sum it up and make this as simple as I possibly can, by programming this microcontroller, you can turn these pins individually or in groups on or off. If you turn them on, they output a very low current at 5 volts. If you turn them off, they output 0 volts. They don't output anything at all. Conversely, they can read a 5 volt or 0 volt signal, so you can tell if something else is on or off. Now, the analog pins are different. They can read from 0 to 5 volts and anywhere in between. But that's that's another factor of it. The main thing is, here's what you need to remember. This IC here, the Atmel AT328P, controls these pins and simply turns them on or off, or reads whether they are on or off. And that is an incredibly simplified explanation of Arduino. But by turning these pins on or off, or checking if they're on or off, you can do a million different things. All right, so thus ends my recap of what an Arduino is. Let's get into what's included in this really nice kit. So if we open up this kit, we have this nice card here, and if you flip it over, it gives you an idea of all the things that are inside of it. And this is probably the best way to get into Arduino if you have no experience at all, is to simply buy a starter kit. Again, this one is from the company Elegoo. There are others, but we're looking at this one today. On this CD, or maybe it's a DVD, I'm not sure, you'll find PDF manual, code, and different libraries. So this is going to have some instructional material, some reference material, and libraries. Now, libraries are what makes working with the Arduino so easy. Say you need to read a certain type of sensor. Well, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just go find the library for that sensor and access it through your Arduino program, which in Arduino language is called a sketch. Okay? So included in the kit is the Elegoo Uno R3. Again, like I said, this is probably the most popular of the different models of Arduino out there. It's simple to use. And, yeah, excellent to have. Great place to start. Okay, next up is apparently a wall wart type power supply. This one is, of course, supplied with, the US plug, since we are in the US market. This is 9 volt at 1 amp. And that will work just fine for your R3, because what we have here is a voltage regulator. You can put up to about 17 volts, I think, into the Arduino, but generally you want to keep it around 9 volts to keep things operating nice and cool. So, we've got our Uno, we've got our 9 volt 1 amp power supply. Next up, now this is a breadboard power supply. Let me find a breadboard. I think there's one included in the kit. Yeah. Here we go. So this is a, 830 tie point breadboard. This is the long breadboard, the standard length, I call it. So, breadboard's where you're going to, do most of your experimenting. We have to have a way to get power to it, and that's what one of these little guys here is for. You see you have a positive and a negative rail on each side. You just want to make sure that you put your negatives and positives in the correct place. And then you can just plug this guy in here. And now your positive and negative rails are energized. Works out really nice. So there's the breadboard and the breadboard power supply. All right, next up, we have an Arduino Shield. Now there are a number, of different shields. We'll come back to that. This one's basically what's called an experimenter shield. You can get shields with sensors in them and stuff like that. This one allows you to do your own experimenting. So you can work out your own circuits on here. After you say after you've done it on the breadboard, you can transfer it to here and have your circuit ready to go. So very nice. You get a selection of resistors. I'm not going to go through all these. They appear to be either quarter watt Yeah, they're big enough. They're probably 1/4 watt resistors. I've got lots of videos in my basic electronics playlist if you're unsure what resistors are. Now this is nice. This is a membrane keypad. You can connect up this jack here to various pins on your Arduino. And even though these have numbers and letters, you can make them do whatever you want. It a sticky back so you can put it on somewhere and use it. Very nice again. Now over here, if I can actually get something to open. This is an 8x8 matrix module. And it uses the Max, what the heck is that chip called? 219 chip. You give it voltage, ground, data in, chip select, and clock, and you can turn on any one or multiples of those dots. These are a lot of fun, and they can be joined together. I've made a clock out of them, and it's one of my more popular videos. You can check that out in my playlist as well. All right, where should we go next? How about up here? Got your standard USB cord to connect the Arduino to your computer. We've got some jumper wires. These are male to male. These are also known as DuPont cables. These are male to female. We've got a 9-volt battery clip, which is really nice. You can power, once you've programmed your Arduino and you don't need it hooked to the computer anymore, you can power it from a 9-volt battery. And we have a simple stepper motor. Now with the stepper motor, you need a driver. And you can see that is quite well stuck in there. That's on here too. That's your stepper motor driver. And I've done a video on these as well. Just search for stepper motors. All right, what do we got here? A few various sensors. I'm going to empty them out here, and then we can talk about them individually, if they'll come out of their bags. Okay. So this first one is actually not a sensor. It's a rotary encoder, which looks a lot like a potentiometer, but it's not. I did a video on how these work. Basically, there's 2 wheels in there, and they go in and out of phase to let a microcontroller determine whether you're turning it one direction or another, and it has a clickable switch. These are very nice. This is an infrared sensor, and it would be used with an infrared remote control to do infrared projects. This is a temperature sensor, temperature and humidity actually. This is real easy to use and probably one of the best starter projects if you've never done Arduino before, is to put one of those together. This is the HC-SR04, which is an ultrasonic distance sensor. Real easy to use. You give it voltage and ground. Then it has a trigger pin. When you put a pulse on the trigger pin, it fires out an ultrasonic signal, comes back on the echo pin, and can determine distance. These are a lot of fun to play with. Again, I've done videos on them as well. Now what we've got here is a little joystick. These are pretty cool. So this is like what you would find on your PlayStation or Xbox. And it allows you to control things. You can't do it with an R3, but there are a couple of Arduinos that you can actually use these things as a HID device. All right, next up. Really interesting. This is a PIR, or a passive infrared sensor. This will sense body heat, and it will activate one of these pins, which you can then read with your Uno and turn something else on, say an alarm or a light. So you see how that all comes together by reading whether or not something is turned on or off, and then determining whether or not to turn something else on or off. You can create an entire project. I think that's pretty cool. This is a 7-segment, 4-digit LED display, probably common cathode. You've seen these everywhere. Real nice, they're fun to work with. This is the same thing, but only a single digit. This is a relay. This is a Songle relay. These are pretty nice. 10 amp, 250 volt AC, 10 amp, 30 volt DC. You know, you energize 2 of the contacts of the relay. That energizes a coil, closes a magnetic switch, and allows you to turn something else on. What you can do with this is you can use a low power circuit like the Arduino to energize a high power circuit like an AC mains powered light. Allows you to keep things separate. Standard little DC motor, and you can see it comes with a little fan attachment, so you can do some stuff with that. This is a gyroscope, and this particular one hold on a second while I figure out which particular one this is. GY521, and appears to be I2C. I could be wrong. Anyway, it determines its position in space and relays that information to your Arduino. Very cool. We've got a moisture sensor here. When a drop of water would short out either any of these 2 things, it turns on. So if you wanted to make a rain sensor, you know, you would put this outside an area when it gets wet. It would turn on one of these pins, which you could use to activate something else. We've got a 16:2 LCD display. Very useful, used in tons of Arduino projects. Very nice. We got a servo. This is a little 9 grams mini servo. You can use it to create circular motion, basically, which can be translated into linear motion as well. We've got a sound sensor. Again, when it detects sound of a certain level, turns a pin on. This is a real-time clock. Once you set it, you can forget it, and it will keep track of time. They've also been enclosed a 9-volt battery for our use there. Now here we have an RFID system. There's an RFID tag, there's an RFID card, and this is the reader. So it can read data on here. You can use this to activate or deactivate open doors, things like that. Again, very cool, and I have videos on how to do that. And finally, we have a selection of components, a couple of potentiometers, which are basically variable resistors. We have some capacitors, some touch switches, some LEDs, some diodes, transistors. Those look like standoffs. Some more capacitors, piezo sounders, and a couple of what appear to be, one's a shift register and the other is an L239D motor driver. So there's everything back in the box. You get a nice little card if you have a problem. Elegoo customer service, and this will be a valuable resource, having this CD or DVD, so that you can get the information you need to get started. Now this kit is available on Amazon. It's $53, $53.99, so $54. It is a very complete kit. This will get you going and get you through many, many projects. And, oops, I forgot something. And on your way to understanding the Arduino Uno world and architecture and how it all fits together. Can you do every project you'll find on the internet with this kit? No. But you're not going to be able to do every project you find on the internet with any kit. This is a great way to get into it. Yeah, you could find this probably cheaper off of, you know, eBay China or Banggood or whatever. Elegoo is a good brand. I bought a lot of their stuff. I trust it. Yeah, that's really all I can say about it. Again, thanks again for Elegoo for sending this kit out to us. This is a really nice kit, and I appreciate them thinking of us. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're new to Arduino, I hope this gave you a little bit of a introduction. And if you're not new to Arduino and you stayed around and watched this, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Anyway, that's it. I'm out. Peace.